Back in April, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas single-handedly ended peace negotiations with Israel when he surprisingly announced that his Fatah party and Hamas ended several years of animosity and reached an agreement to form an interim unity government. And that government was sworn in on June 2nd. And our State Department quickly announced it would work with the newly elected West Bank-Gaza alliance and maintain its aid to the Palestinian Authority, all the while realizing that the peace process is dead. State Department spokeswoman Jen Psaki, she admitted, it's hard to see how Israel can be expected to negotiate with a government that does not believe in its right to exist. Now let's, for a moment, disregard Israeli reaction to the international community extending a hand of welcome to Hamas because they exchanged their black masks and fatigues for suits and ties. And instead, let's shift our attention to the Daily Star, one of the largest English media sources in the Middle East based out of Lebanon. It's circulated all over the Arab world and online and markets itself to Muslim expats, and it claimed, isolated in the region and facing a major economic crisis in Gaza, Hamas ceded power to gain breathing space and recuperate, and will remain at the background politically. The Islamist movement, Hamas, will instead work at a grassroots level to build up military, financial, and social strength while under the guise of Palestinian unity deals. And it will take refuge under the wing of the internationally recognized Palestinian Liberation Organization. Handing over power to a unity government of independence will allow Hamas to work in the background, away from the political limelight, while the PLO shoulders the responsibility of executive authority. And then the article continues. This government, in my view, is an umbrella Hamas is hiding under in order to free itself of its financial problems and from the retreat of political Islam in the region, said Abdel Magid Swalam of Al-Quds University in the West Bank. And Hassan Abdo, a Gaza-based political analyst, he said that the Islamic movement, blacklisted by the EU and the United States as a terrorist organization, would have difficulty joining the regional and international system, but it will remain active and influential on the ground. Now, these are quotes not from Israelis trying to undermine the alliance. They are quotes from Palestinian academics in the West Bank and in Gaza. And if you want proof of the Daily Star's claims, on April 15th, 1 week before the agreement between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, Hamas Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh, he praised the morning's terror attack that killed an Israeli civilian. And he said it brought back to life the path of resistance, and then he added, we tell the enemy and anyone who thinks he's able to tame the West Bank, that the West Bank, it will be the future point of our struggle with the enemy. Now, given Hamas's dedication to terrorism and pledge to destroy the state of Israel, which is the key principle of its charter, Israel's reaction to June 2nd's announcement was predictable. Deputy Defense Minister Danny Danon, he warned foreign governments against giving aid to the Palestinian Authority. The suits of the unity government ministers are just pretty casings for the acts of terror that they have overseen, he said. As of now, all aid given to the Palestinians by the United States and other countries directly contributes to the harming of the state of Israel. And the Prime Minister, he was more controlled, but equally emphatic. I call on all responsible elements in the international community not to rush to recognize a Palestinian government which has Hamas as a part of it, and which is dependent upon Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization that calls for Israel's destruction, he said, and the international community must not embrace it. That would not bolster peace, it would strengthen terror, Netanyahu warned. And yet it should be noted that despite the predictable language, warnings, and disappointment emanating from the Knesset, Israel's actions were defined by caution and restraint. Diplomatic correspondent Barak Ravid, he wrote, taking into account the makeup of the present Israeli government, the cabinet's decision can even be defined as moderate. Israel did not announce that it doesn't recognize the new Palestinian government. It didn't decide to boycott its members, and it didn't freeze ties with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Why? Why such harsh language on the one hand, but tempered reaction on the other? Well, the answer, my friends, The answer is that Israel is being surprisingly patient, waiting for its allies, the United States specifically, to unmask the unity government for what it is and to hold it accountable. Note the following. Number one, any Palestinian government cannot be a negotiating partner for peace unless it meets long-standing quartet, the quartet being the EU, the UN, Russia, and the United States. Quartet demands, ensconced in the United States law, namely recognize Israel, reject violence, and accept previous Israeli-Palestinian agreements. Number two, all of Israel's agreements with the Palestinians are predicated upon their recognition of Israel's right to exist and renunciation of the use of violence, two conditions that Hamas refuses to accept. And number three, the United States has consistently declared Hamas a terrorist organization, rejected any attempts to engage Hamas prior to its acceptance of the three criteria I just mentioned. President Clinton, he first designated Hamas a terrorist organization in 1997, and this policy has been fully supported and strengthened by subsequent United States administrations. Lastly, and most importantly, number four, under United States law, no American aid can be provided directly to the Palestinian Authority unless that government and its members have publicly committed to the Quartet principles. In short, if any aspect of the unity government is linked to policies and or personalities of Hamas, subsequent United States financial support of such government would be illegal. Now, my friends, Israel's restraint in the wake of June 2nd's vote, it's a call to action to us to make sure that our government officials are not only aware of the story, but of the possibility that foreign aid may be given illegally to a terrorist entity on their watch in order to do harm to the state of Israel. Now, senators are circulating a bipartisan letter to President Obama that expresses dismay over Palestinian moves to form a unity government backed by the terrorist group Hamas. And that letter, which was spearheaded by Senators Ben Cardin, Democrat of Maryland, and Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, state that such a government represents a serious blow to the peace effort. And I encourage you all to visit apac.org to see how you can best contact your government representative to lobby on behalf of this extremely important issue. Wishing you all well. Have a good day.